So you might hate Matt Walsh from all the content we've seen, but here's one of my favorite videos just put together by our friends Mike over on the Humanist Report, looking back at a famous Christian evangelical, Josh Duggar, who was discovered doing something. You know what it is. You know what he was discovered doing. I don't even have to explain it. Oh, we have a bunch of subs that I have to thank. Shoegaze Dragon Georgie, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. We have Domatron89, thank you for the tier 1 as well. Did you guys give after the hype train ended? Drac Marius, thank you for the prime. Show Me, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Revox, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Norris RG, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Vio, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. You get 4,000 subs, and now you act up. You're gonna take that? Now you're acting up? Okay. One sandwich, please. Thank you for the 6 gifted subs. Potassium Prince, thank you for the prime. Del Rose, thank you for the 13 months. Dangerino, thank you for the 2 months. Appreciate all of you. Fat Loser, thank you for the 31 months. You're not a fat loser. You subscribe to me. It's impossible. All right, let's keep going.
So, self-proclaimed theocratic fascist Matt Walsh is one of these individuals on the right who constantly fearmongers about LGBTQ plus people. They're groomers. Teachers are groomers. They're grooming children at family-friendly pride events. He also joined the Libs of TikTok campaign to demonize Boston's Children's Hospital and claimed that they were doing bottom surgeries on trans girls, which was not happening. And this led to them being harassed and receiving death threats. So this individual, he pretends as if he's concerned about the safety of children, but as people lately are pointing out, it doesn't seem as if he's that concerned in actuality about the safety of children, considering this 2015 article that he wrote where he did a soft defense of Josh Duggar. So it's titled The Duggars, which is the stars of the TLC show 19 Kids and Counting, for those of you who don't know, aren't hypocrites. Progressives are. A Christian failing to live up to his faith does not make him a hypocrite. It makes him cowardly, perhaps. It makes him selfish. It makes him flawed. It makes him sinful. Now, I'm not going to attack the core argument here. That's essentially the crux of his argument. But he is wrong, and I do want to address that really quickly before we get into the elements of this article that are, I guess, perplexing. We'll call it that, right? But he's wrong. Josh Duggar is an individual who molested multiple little girls, including his sisters, one as young as 5 years old. Now, he did this when he was a teenager. So this is a serial child molester. Rapist, and the reason why he's a hypocrite is because of the career that he had before he was forced to resign after it came out that he was indeed a child molester. So,
now, by the way, chat, you'll not be surprised to hear that all the people at his church tried initially to cover it up.
He was the executive director at the Family Research Council, which is an organization, by the way, that the Southern Poverty Law Center designates as a hate group, and rightfully so. Now, what this organization does is it tries to defame homosexuals as pedophiles.
He was researching families, all right. Yeah, and the number one thing Mike is about to say it. The Family Research Council, far-right organization, treated as normal by the mainstream media. And the most things they do is just try to accuse LGBTQIA people of being molesters, pedophiles, groomers, etc., as they have an actual pedophile, groomer, rapist as their executive director.
With members saying that the goal of the homosexual movement is to gain access to children and abolish the age of consent laws. And they also had a publication called Homosexual Behavior and Pedophilia. So the entire goal of this organization is to demonize queer people. And mostly they do this by smearing them as pedophiles, claim that to be gay means that you are inherently a pedophile. And that's what he did. He worked at this organization. I mean, to defame LGBTQ plus people as pedophiles while Josh Duggar himself is a pedophile, that is the definition of hypocrisy, but yet Matt Walsh decided to defend him there. And Josh Duggar, he lobbied a number of politicians. I mean, he's taken pictures with Mike Huckabee, Rick Perry, Steve King, Scott Walker, Rick Santorum, Jeb Bush, Sarah Palin, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Rand Paul, Mike Pence. So Matt Walsh's core argument here is complete dog shit, but I don't want to focus on the argument because, again, that's not really why this article stood out to a lot of people as suspicious, rightfully so. So the reason why this article is disturbing is because he does a sort of soft defense of the Duggars and even Josh Duggar, albeit to a lesser extent. So first and foremost, let me be fair and say that he does unequivocally condemn Josh Duggar's actions, but still, even condemning his actions, the way that he portrays Josh Duggar, a serial pedophile, is as sympathetic, as if he's the victim because of the backlash to his pedophilia becoming public. He writes, Josh Duggar has already lost his job, been publicly shamed, and had his name permanently sullied by these revelations, but critics are not satisfied. They want the show canceled, it was canceled by the way, and anyone who supports the family to give up and join the mob of stone throwers and witch burners. They say that Josh is not the only villain here. His parents are also guilty for not going to the police immediately. Today I'm told Josh Duggar's actions from 12 years ago ought to be enough to, as Montel Williams declared, forever brand him as a slime bag and a danger to kids, but I can recall recent cases, like Mike Brown's, where past crimes were completely irrelevant, even though the past crime happened like 3 minutes before he assaulted Officer Darren Wilson. I'm having trouble following the logic. Okay.
So in other words, he's trying Matt Walsh is saying is that when a black boy steals cigarellos from a convenience store, he should be able to be shot down in the street unarmed, right, by a police officer, or whatever. That's fine, right? That's fine. But Josh Duggar uses position of authority and molests children. He shouldn't lose his job. That's the brain take.
Okay, so that's red flag number one. He's comparing a serial pedophile to an unarmed black teenager who was extrajudicially murdered by a police officer. Is this really the argument that you want to make? Nobody's saying that if you commit a crime, you shouldn't be held accountable for said crime. But what we're saying is that crime shouldn't result in the death penalty. And furthermore, one cop shouldn't be the judge, the jury, and the executioner. But he's trying to make it seem as if, oh, no, this victim of police violence, he's actually the one who's terrible. And, if liberals aren't willing to admit that he was terrible, then I guess, I don't have to admit that Josh Duggar was terrible too, or as terrible as people want to claim that he is. Except, again, I don't care what Mike Brown did. He was murdered by a police officer, with many people saying he had his hands up. Witnesses, videos show this. I don't give a fuck what crime he committed. A cop doesn't get to take the life of a teenager. Okay? You arrest him, you apprehend him, and you take him to jail if he committed a crime. We're talking about something completely different. Like, he's comparing apples to oranges. But he wants to make it seem as if sometimes, the punishment doesn't necessarily match the crime. That's what he's priming you to believe. And it's so disgusting to bring up a case that demonstrates how disgusting our racist criminal justice system.
The map being canceled and shunned for past molestation that you were never held accountable for is equal to being shot to death for petty theft. That's right. And when you're not resisting.
System is to do soft apologia for a pedophile is gross, but believe it or not, it gets worse. He writes, I know I'm opening myself up to serious criticism here, but let me be honest with you. If my own son, God forbid, came to me and admitted to doing what Josh Duggar did, I don't know that I'd immediately run to the cops. Would you? Is it really that simple?
Wow. And this is the essence of conservatism, chat. The law protects them and binds you, even for child molestation. Matt Walsh admits that he would help cover up molestations. That's what he's admitting. Should never be allowed near children.
decision to have your child arrested as a sex offender would be an automatic thing for you, really?
Alaru,
I guess I'm
thank
just
you
a
for the
horrible person
prime.
then. At least he admits it. I don't know all of the details. Nobody outside of the family does or ever will, but it appears
Wow.
that Josh's parents attempted to address the situation within their family before going to church, and then eventually to a law enforcement officer. Again, there might be parts of this story that would change my analysis, but right now, based on what we know, it seems that they handled this the right way, or at least I can't say for sure that I would have known any better way to go about it. As a parent, you have to think whether your 14-year-old son deserves to have his life ruined over his mistakes. Maybe you decide that he does. I can't say I'd agree. Is that so? Okay, well, let's put it a different way, Matt Walsh. In the event your son came to you and said that he had molested your other children, you wouldn't immediately be concerned for his victims, wouldn't be concerned that he'd do that again? Because that's what should be at the forefront of that parent's mind. Of course, you're not going to, just stop caring for your son, but immediately you learn that your daughters were victimized. And your first thought is, oh my God, my poor son, what am I going to do to him? I mean, do you understand why this is so egregious and why people took issue with what he said here? He is normalizing violence against women and little girls by not even thinking about what these girls went through, how they are traumatized for the rest of their lives.
Because conservatives don't consider girls to be human. They don't think they deserve the same consideration. I mean, that's just the way they think.
To not immediately be concerned about the danger that he poses to your other children, I mean, it's sick. So no, I don't think that the Duggars handled this appropriately. So what they did when he confessed to them that he did this was they sent him to a family member, and he did hard labor for several months. And then when he got back, they talked to the sheriff or something like that. I mean, you're admitting, like, this is why this is so insane to me. Matt Walsh is admitting, I really don't give a fuck about the little girls in this situation. I care about the predator. Really? That's the implication. If you are really struggling about what to do to protect your pedophile child, then you don't care about the victims. I mean, at any point did you think, man, I can't imagine what these girls went through. Having their own brother do this egregious act to them, something that will traumatize them and affect them for the rest of their lives. Psychological pain that they will never be able to discharge. This will go with them, follow them everywhere. But yet he's worried, are we being a little bit too mean to the pedophile? But Matt Walsh wants you to believe that he actually cares about the safety and well-being of children after writing this soft defense for a fucking pedophile who molested multiple little girls. These people are not serious. They don't care about children. So whenever they tell you that LGBTQ plus people are a danger to children, they don't care. They're just trying to demonize queer people, and they're using these gay pedophile tropes and stereotypes as some way to get you to think that vilification of queer people is justified. But no, don't listen to these folks. Look at what they say about actual child predators, and it's genuinely disturbing. So look, this is something that he wrote in 2015. I don't know if he stands by this, but he's admitting here, yeah, I don't know what I'd do in this situation. Maybe I wouldn't turn in my son. I just let him live in this home with my other daughters so he can continue to molest them. This is genuinely disturbing, sick shit. So he has the audacity to feign concern over the safety of well-being and well-being of children after penning this disgusting article. This is soft apologia for pedophiles, and he should be ashamed of himself for writing this. I don't know if he still believes this, like I said, but either way, I wouldn't stand by this if I were you, Matt Walsh, especially after taking up the mantle of protecting children. We'll just leave that there.
And that's who Matt Walsh is. That's who Matt Walsh is, dude. So what a surprise that these sick fucks oppose the most basic shit. Sex education class. Now, the reason why these people hate sex education class is one of the things you learn in your health class or your sex education class is what is and isn't appropriate, how to protect yourself, how to say no, and if someone does try to touch you or does, how to report it. That's one of the things that you need to learn as you grow up, how to protect yourself from victimization. They don't want children to be able to. They like to create an environment where molesters can get away with it. That's what they like to do. Chris Rufo and the Idaho Freedom Foundation are currently pushing a narrative against sex education class with a highly editorialized video. They're upset that sex ed classes are allowed to acknowledge that porn and LGBT people exist, saying they are showing porn to kids, which they're absolutely not doing. The thing that's really funny to me, chat, is as children have access to more and more information, especially age inappropriate information on the internet, the more conservatives want to pretend like they're in a permanent state of innocence. If you give your child a tablet, if you give your child a phone that connects to the internet, you have basically exposed them to the entire adult information universe. That's how it works, man. So it is important that children get in a controlled, vetted, and pedagogically appropriate environment and education on how to stay away from dangerous places, how to hopefully when their friend, like, because even if you do the right thing and don't give your child a phone and don't give your child a tablet, your children are going to be exposed to the kid with the least vigilant parents. So, if your child goes to a classroom, the kid with the parents that are the least vigilant is going to be the one that exposes your child to the reality of the adult world. If this makes you scared, you're a bad parent. You need to be aware that that is the reality so that you can educate your child and so they don't become affected. They don't access this information, that they will turn it down, that they will know what it is and avoid it. God damn, dude. It's not that you have to show them the thing, but describing the thing that their friend has probably already showed them is important. Is there a video of Matt Walsh's bad takes where someone is roasting the hell out of him for being a dumbass? I mean, I'm doing it now. Insights on pornography and sex education. Early to 2021, ETR talked with sex educators, policy experts, and researchers on how we should be addressing pornography and sex education with young people. Here are 6 insights from our conversations. Pornography is an informal and common topic in sex education. Pornography is a commonly discussed topic, even though it's not usually a formative component of sex education programs. Why? Because children, as I just said, whether you're a good parent or not, children are still getting access to this material through their friends. And this was true, by the way, even before the internet. I remember that. I grew up before the internet. Porno mags were still a thing. Porn videos were still a thing. The Spice Channel or the Playboy Channel was still a thing when I was growing up. And again, it was the least vigilant parents that made you encounter that shit. And then when the internet came around, that too. That's the reality of life. So what do you need to do is how do you educate kids to protect them from being abused or from encountering this material and what they should do when they do. Pornography is a commonly discussed topic, even though it's not usually a formal component of sex education programs. Instead, pornography is often addressed through student questions. Questions relate to norms around body, sexual behaviors, and boundaries. These questions highlight young people's need to process what they may see or hear about pornography. Restrictive policies limit educators' ability to address pornography in sex education. In school-based settings, discussion about pornography is often restricted. Some educators feel they may risk their jobs or even the availability of sex education to students if they attempt to include pornography as a topic. Not pornography as, hey, we're going to show porn. Pornography as in when people ask about it. That's ridiculous. Don't forget, a lot of these sex ed classes also teach them about consent. Well, that's also what conservatives don't want you to do. Conservatives don't believe in consent. Conservatives oppose a consent-based framework. They think that husbands should be able to rape their wives. They think that if a woman gets really drunk and passes out and a man has sex with her, conservatives think that that's a-okay. She shouldn't have put herself in that position. She should have went to that apartment. She should not have invited him over. She shouldn't have drank so much. She shouldn't have wore that skirt. That's what conservatives think. This is not me slandering them. That was the law for a long time in America. In fact, America used to have laws around rape called resistance to the utmost, which means it wasn't rape unless you fought your complete hardest. If you said no, they didn't call it rape. If you fought back, but they still managed to rape you, and you could have fought back harder, not rape. If you froze, not rape. That's what it used to be. You had to do resistance to the utmost, or else you weren't raped. That means calling out. That means fighting. That means kicking. That means trying to run. All that. Or it wasn't rape. That's what it used to be. And those damn libs changed it to consent. And they want to go back. They want to go back. Here, I'll show you. The utmost resistance requirement is a prime example of protecting male interests in their own women and male interest in sexual access. The requirement was used to determine whether the sexual interaction was against her will and reflected the belief that a woman should protect her chastity with her life. Why do victims have to prove they resisted assault? If I can find this. Among the many myths of the centuries is the notion of utmost resistance. It used to be that under the law, prosecutors were required to prove that victims of sexual assault resisted their attacker with enough effort to show that the sex was not consensual. They had to show utmost resistance. Though each jurisdiction defined utmost resistance differently, typically victims were required to kick, bite, scratch, and scream to the utmost of their power and ability. And if they did not do so, they would be deemed to have consented. Indeed, to have invited sexual intercourse. That's what it used to be. Of course, such a standard forced women into an unbearable predicament. Decide whether she has a greater fear of the rape or of physical injury. Fortunately, by 1940, the utmost resistance standard that prevailed for most of American history was replaced by the standard of reasonable resistance. And some places still have reasonable resistance. And it's illegal in 12 states. Yeah, there's reasonable resistance. There's marital rape, which is legal in 12 states still. All sorts of things. Education should inform young people with marginalized identities. Not all young people are the same, and not all pornography is the same. We need to change a range of approaches to address pornography with youth. Pornography may be one of the only places that some young people may see themselves represented. To increase inclusion, sex education to form young people's sexual and cultural identities while confronting the racist, sexist, ableist, homophobic, and transphobic stereotypes that can be represented in pornography. Literacy education is seen as a primary strategy for addressing pornography. So what is media literacy? It means critical thinking about what you're seeing, not just accepting it. The fact that, and this is the type of shit that is common sense if you're not a fucking freak. And these chuds take children are seeing pornography because the internet exists, and they ask questions about sexuality in a sex education setting, and educators should be able to teach them about the problematic shit and why it's not real and why it can be harmful. But no, conservatives want you to put your head in the sand and just pretend the problem doesn't exist, because that's their solution to everything. Conservatives call critical thinking indoctrination. Yeah, it's fucking, they're disgusting. DHW does not support or fund any porn literacy for children in Idaho. That is what they're doing is an attack on sex education in general. Statistics show that sex ed classes at school greatly reduce underage pregnancies, which in turn reduce abortion rates. They don't want to reduce teen pregnancy. They want to keep people poor and uneducated. That's what they want. That's why conservatives focus on education so much, because they know that if you're taught to be a critical thinker with empathy, you're not going to be one of them. Jesus Christ. These fucking vile scum, dude. They really are. They really are. They really, really are. Are you watching the stream unsubbed? You're making income inequality worse. You are doing anti-praxis. We are the only Twitch stream that will not accept scam advertisers, and I will never fuck you over by selling you crap.